Well, look, at this point, he's the worst hour of press because he just has to sit there and wait and wait for the time to come to maybe get there early. And so he's there, he's not really focused. And no small talk there, but nobody's trying to get any opportunities. So one thing I say, I think the beginning of the day of the Trump will show all the comment about Trump. He knows in character that one first day is the one that the other side of Trump is not the one that is in the one. The question is, will we be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning by David Muir and the comments that by President Harris in his direction, and that will be how we perform. In the last talk, we have to compare versus 2016. He told you that this really smart. What about the power that you're not saying? Well, certainly not saying that in public in any way. Not saying that in 2016, he was very so the question is still moving. If you say something really serious about but she also has the ability to punish you. It's so easy. Because I tell you again, we talk about the things you grow up in your experiences. She grew up in how she was raised. The values that are instilled in her in your life. But she experienced herself, and tonight she's talking to her people. Share with the world. Go to the institute and say, look, I have some ideas I want to share with you. There's several things together over the last 4 years. But here's what I think we can do together over the next 4 years. These ideas in our hearts, and we're not in America, many of what American people want to grow in 2020 inspired former president say, I want to be president of the Americans. I want to be strong and this is and this is and just as I was she actually not inspired you know what, they say, I'm talking this is you know what, I said to you, it's something to say about people. Now, this is what I believe what Governor Linsey proposed tonight can be disciplined without talking about well, the reality is that a lot of news tonight, and the support is already almost unmovable. So, the second piece is unlike before for the moderators. You don't have much of that. Kamala Harris said for this, if you not she's going to open the finance the board, their constitutions, the criminal activity order, the criminal activity drugs, what her role is. So really, the spotlight has come up there. She's waiting on the country, she wants to act, she's not in the public. So this is where the is going to be. She's got a lot of interest tonight, and I think that's where Donald Trump's focus will be where the should be. Well, one of the things he wants to do is have a female voters looking. How does he attract female voters after saying things about Kamala Harris? We don't even notice that things he said about Kamala Harris that he don't belong. That's not really important. Yeah, no, but I also think that just like you did in the first debate against Joe Biden, is to constantly tie Kamala Harris to the Biden administration where Trump is doing against her on the population and all the other problems that are happening, and then sit back and let her talk, let her explain herself, her practices, her position. I don't feel about how Biden is running her country. I feel about the border. And then turn her over and let her talk. Okay, it's like the very side on the word for all the things. It's not to say that you know such a complex this such a short when you say you set up our life once. Almost certainly in the last. So we can say, you know what, President because in moments where you get an entire
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories. This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
We've got something better to offer the American people. It starts with our candidate, Kamala Harris.
I accept your nomination as President of the United States. It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith to uphold the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being an American. So let's get out there, let's fight for it, let's vote for it, and together, let us...
Vice President Harris, who President Trump would like to form this and opponent on stage often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised in the middle class, and I'm actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is lifting up the middle class. I believe in the addition of the aspirations and dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually planned to build an opportunity fund. Because here's the thing, we know that we have a shortage of homes and houses, and approximately 2% for part-time. We know that young families need support to raise their goods that you rely to get in money. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for taxes of their earnings.
First of all, I don't sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. You know, said we're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to find their 75 years pay us back for all that we've done in the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. That's between billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they have to get the tariff off because there's so much money they can't get. They would totally destroy everything that they said I could do. They're taking billions of dollars from China and other places that left the tariffs on. When I had it, they had tariffs and they had no inflation. Look, we had a federal government because inflation has, which is really known as a country crisis, which breaks up countries. We had inflation like very few people have never seen before, probably the worst in the nation's history. We were at 21% of S&P generation, because many things are 50, 60%, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, and for every class. On top of that, we had millions of people going into our country from prisons to jails, from mental institutions and sick asylums, and they're coming in and taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics. And also, we need to different diverse and And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns surrounding the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality. And we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'm doing it and even better.
The organization of British Board of Surrogate during this state, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond.
Well, let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the goals of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all this.
Lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous.
Well, look, at this point, he's the worst power of press because he just has to sit there and wait and wait for the time to come when they get there early. And so he's there, he's not really focusing. And no one's trying to even any opportunities. So let me ask you I think the beginning of the day, the Trump will show all the Trump. He knows inherently that 2020 first debate is Joe Biden, that Trump is not the one that is won. The question is, will we be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning by David Muir and creating comments that and his direction, and that will be how we perform. In the last talk, we have compared versus 2016. He told me that he was smart. What about the problem that you're not saying? Well, certainly it's not saying that in public in any way. I'm saying that in 2016, we were very close to So the question is going to be, if we say, but she also has the ability to punish you. It's so easy. Because I tell you, they're talking about the things she grew up with, she grew up with their experience, she grew up from how she was raised. The values that are instilled in her as a young woman. But she is standing on her feet, suing herself, and tonight she's talking to American people, stand with the world. Go to their kitchen and say, look, I have some ideas I want to share with you. There's so many things that have been over the last 4 years. But here's what I think we need to be able to do. These ideas in our hearts, and we're not in American people. Many of course American people go on the road in 2020 to try to form a president. So I want to be president of the Americans. I want to be strong leaders and this is one of them. And just as I said, she has to hold out to the white administration in any state that would not come to go. You know what, they say, I'm a problem, you know what, we're also going to say, I think we need to start to say, now, this is what I believe what Dr. Linsey will do tonight. Many people say that I'm talking about.
Well, certainly can. I mean, the reality is that conference had a lot of news tonight. I mean, the report has already been almost unmovable. So, the second thing is that many people work for Kamala Harris and don't have to talk about that. She's Kamala Harris has been for this economy, she's been trouble in the finance program. The board, their past positions, the criminal activities, what her role is. So really, the spotlight on Kamala Harris, I think, is she's way over the administration, she wants to act, she's not in public. So this is where Kamala is going to be. She's got a lot of interest tonight, and I think that's where Donald Trump's focus will be, where the should be tonight.
Well, one of the things he wants to do is have a female voter taken. How does he attract female voters after saying things about Kamala Harris? Things he said about Kamala Harris that he's done wrong. That's not really effective.
Yeah, not wrong, but I also think that just like you get in the first debate, you get to Biden and the format here is to constantly tie Kamala Harris to the Biden administration where Trump is doing against her on the economy, inflation, and all the other problems that we're having. and then sit back and let her talk, let her explain herself and back position, her position. How does she feel about how quiet and done her? How does she feel about the water? And then turn her over and let her talk. Okay, it's my favorite night on the market. Let's not just say that you do this something short of it says that we will set up our life for life once. Almost certainly going to be the last one. So we think you know what, President Kamala just moments away, you have the entire organization keeping on everything, that now, just 10 seconds away, you feel that.
Well, look, at this point, he's the worst power of this press because he just has to sit there and wait and wait for the time to come when they get there early. And so he's there, he's not really focusing. And they'll look small, but nobody's trying to I think in the beginning of the day, Trump will show all the comment. He knows inherently that one person that is the one that the other Trump is not the one that is the one. The question is, will he be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning by David Muir and creating comments that President Harris makes in his direction, and that will be how he performs. Think about the top we have to versus 2016. He told you that Hillary was smart in his preparing. What about the power that you're not saying? Well, certainly it's not saying that I'm saying that in 2016, so the question will be, if we say, but she also has the whole tax. So punishment is so easy. Because I tell you, they talk about the things she grew up with their experience. She grew up from how she was raised. The values that instilled in her as a young woman. But she excelled at least $300, and tonight she's talking to American people, share with the world. Go to the institute and say, look, I have some ideas that I want to share with you. There's several things we have done over the last 4 years. But here's what I think we can do together with this thing. These ideas are our and we're not in American people. Maybe of course the American people go on the road in 2020 expire the former president. Say, I want to be president of the Americans. I want to be strong and this is what I actually and just like words on he actually announced his fight in any state you know what, they say, I'm trying to say, you know what, I think we need to start to say about now, I believe what Dr. Linsey will do tonight. Can you do this without
well, you certainly can. I mean, the reality is that our conference has had a lot of news tonight. I mean, this report has already been almost unmovable. So The second thing is that many people work for Kamala Harris, and don't have that Kamala Harris has an interest in this economy, she's been in trouble in the finance program. The board, their past positions, criminal activities and drugs, what her role is. So really, the spotlight on Kamala Harris, I think, is she's way over the country, she wants to act like she's not in the company. So this is where the role is going to be. She's got a lot of interest tonight, and I think that's where Donald Trump's focus will be where the country should be.
Well, one of the things he wants to do is have female voters looking. How does he attract female voters after saying things about Kamala Harris? No one announces that things he said about Kamala Harris that he don't belong. That's not really attractive.
Yeah, no, but I also think that just like you did in the first debate, you get Joe Biden and the here, is to constantly tie Kamala Harris to the Biden administration where Trump is winning against her on the population and all the other problems that are happening, and then sit back and let her talk, let her explain herself and practice positions, certain positions. I'm not sure about how Biden has done it.
So when you say, you know what, President Davis moments away, you have the entire news that you're keeping on Well, look, at this point, he's the worst hour of this because he's just necessary and wait. And wait for the time to come to make it there early. And so he's not really focused. And no small talk there, but no one's trying to even get out. So someone has to go. I think in the beginning of the day, the Trump will show up with Trump. He knows in character that one person that is the one that the other Trump is not the one that is in the one. The question is, will we be able to continue to maintain that approach? Through questioning, fighting, and creating comments that and the direction, and that will be how we perform. In the last talk, we have to versus 2016. He told me that he was smart. What about how that really nice? Well, certainly not saying that not saying that the 2016 who were very but she also has the focus of punishment.
including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congressmember Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track, the President asked if you're making clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former Chief of Staff, the four-star general, is that he is contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former National Security Advisor has said he's dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, will never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have but just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far. Let me continue on immigration. Deportation policy, and the
Vice President has reacted to it as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard to say things be under control. You have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police.
There's never been anything done like this at all. They destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people live in, and all over the world. So why is that? Despite the authoritarian statements of the communist countries, They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was just
where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former Vice President called for defunding federal law enforcement 45,000 agents. Get this, on the day after he was arraigned, to let bringing down Has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. Look, this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then in the term say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the tribalism issue, President said the former president said stand back and stand by. So I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear, on that point, Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath. If the outcome of this election is not to his liking, let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
For time, there was a term that related to energy because they destroyed. Just like leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to Washington,
constantly tie Kamala Harris to the Biden administration where Trump is getting certain and all other problems. And then sit back and let her talk her to explain herself and practices and I don't feel about Biden and I think she'll go for it. And then turn around and let her talk. Okay, it's like this is not how you work
I'm going to tell you that I have talked the world as vice president of the United States. And world leaders are not favorable. I have talked with military leaders, some with you, and they said you're a disgrace. And when you talk in this way, it's
So I hope that you say so much, because
the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that endorsed
Well, look, at this point, he's the worst power of this because he just has to sit there and wait and wait for the time to come when they get there early. And so he's not really focused. And those small nobody's trying to give him any opportunities. So what I think the beginning of the Trump who will show up with Trump. He knows inherently that one person is the one that the other side is not the one that is in the one. The question is, will we be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning, fighting, and creating comments that are in his direction? And that will be how we perform. He told you that this really is a swamp. What about how that is really nice? Well, certainly it's not saying that in public in any way. It's saying that in 2016, so the question is still if we say
national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he requires dictators. He wants to be a dictator on day one according to himself. It is well known that he said that he can do whatever the hell he wants if you do. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. With Kim Jong-un, it is absolutely not.
Stratton. I'm retired, though I drive for a local transportation company.
What did you do when you worked before?
I was a pastor.
A pastor?
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Are you a registered Democrat, Republican?
I am a registered voter.
Registered voter. Okay. So tell me,
with a doubt. Yeah.
okay, so tell me your impressions. What are your first impressions of this debate?
It's truths. To continue to grow the support for Ms. Harris. Her manner of reaching out and presenting her policies has been quite clear. Trump has done nothing but go back to his same old 3 or 4 statements.
So did she exceed your expectations?
She has exceeded some of my details on
So it's going to be and appeal. So
personal defense, not caring about those who are not just kind of stunned as a pastor possibly provide him support.
anything I didn't ask you that you want to add?
I think it might be
All right. Yeah.
I'm a reporter we also talked to one of you about yeah, just look at me and not the light.
Okay.
What's your name?
Robert Dixon.
Robert.
Correct.
Dixon.
Correct.
Okay. And how old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
76.
76.
Yes.
Are you from Abington?
No, I'm from right outside Mount Airy, Philadelphia. I'm a member of the church here. I'm a deacon at the church here.
Are you retired?
Semi. I'm an attorney, so we never retire.
You're an attorney?
Yeah.
Are you a Democrat?
Democrat.
And who are you leaning towards?
Oh, yeah. Harris. The other man's incompetent, and he's tried to take over the country. You can't do that. You can't have that. You just have to stand up. So I'm saying for them to okay.
Away from
okay.
How do you think the debate has gone?
Well, as I expected, I think Donald Trump has done a lot of lying. He had his own mind, his own set of facts on everything, and he's sticking to them pretty much. Harris is trying to interact with him and putting out ideas and things of that nature. None of that he can address because he's just basically, lying. He's talking about all the people that come into the country. Things are going down. We recovered from a horrible COVID pandemic, which he helped precipitate by his complete failure to handle it properly. And, they just want to talk about it. So he just keeps repeating the same old lies. But if you lies big enough, the people, he has a certain percentage of people that want to stick with it.
Do you think Harris is doing, what do you think of her performance?
I think she's doing she's doing really well. She's trying to hit the points and talking about herself. So
this is a very close election in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a very important state. So do you think that she's doing enough to appeal to that sliver of undecided voter that she has to get?
More Democratic than it has. He used to switch back and forth. He won. They really haven't won. Republicans really haven't won anything big in Pennsylvania since he won. So I think that we're in good stead with the people that we have in office now. They always vote for Bob Casey. They voted for Bob Casey when he and his father weren't running, but somebody else put their name up in Bob Casey years ago. That guy won because Pennsylvanians evidently like the name Bob Casey. So I think we're going to do well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very important here. The President of the United States
Commander-in-Chief, the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
You talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries that have NATO. Ripped off protect you. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you lead ability in the way that
Afghanistan. Presidents said they would. Back here, not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who has been active in how we got where we are. Donald Trump, president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this it's not again appreciated role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be Commander-in-Chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And he is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have many Americans behind us.
And the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We heard from both of you on Friday night. I'm going to respond to something you said.
was. Talked about that. Nuclear weapons. Hey, that's his dope. And eventually, maybe using that, maybe something that killed him. He does have something we all want to talk about. She's worse than that. Let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator.
Yet again, I said it at the beginning, they're doing a bunch of last time. And that is not one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I met with him 5 times. The reality is, it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader, upholding the international strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine, environment, and I do want to talk about Afghanistan. The first part of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
I said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen, for years we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up. I say, one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you, otherwise we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate. And we witnessed a momentarily where 100 soldiers had died and the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you have any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agree with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. It was a weak deal, and here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we American diplomacy, where we invite and receive world leaders. And this former president, as a president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role
So, if you take a look at that during this time, Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved, and Abdul was the head of the Taliban. He's still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good is we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind that. We wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, one move on to racing politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago, but she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial
I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
What those were your words?
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read that she was black. That she put out. And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black. And that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
I think it's, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember, how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling to the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than this. Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmothers speak, we all have the same dreams and aspirations, and we want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time. This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country. And they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, there are a lot of people, including Bill Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park fight. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt the person, killed the person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I took one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. She's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that you can't get away with that.
Briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page and move forward.
Let's turn the
To defund the police, she has a plan to confiscate everybody's guns. She has a plan to not allow fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. That's what her plan is until just recently.
I'm sorry. President Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say we're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. If the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people, I have a lot of good people in this administration. We read about the bad ones, we have some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of it. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it go? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I will absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. and you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely supported over the last 4 years as vice president private healthcare options, but what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it. Vice President Harris, in terms of where Donald Trump stands on it.
I want to move to an issue that's important for
You say, number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. It wasn't called
view of politics. Yeah.
Are you undecided voter? Do you know you're voting for it?
So far, no. I feel like they don't really fit me still. It's complicated. I don't know. I feel like they're both not the right candidate for me, based on this debate and the past debates. I'm still undecided.
Do you think both candidates are staying on topic when it comes to the questions?
That's a funny question. I would say yes, but they're moving around from it. I wouldn't say direct, but they're trying to get their answers across. That's what I say.
One of the topics that we just heard was about ownership. And then we heard Harris talking about that she wants it done.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What's your reaction?
I agree. I mean, there's the Second Amendment and stuff, right? And honestly, I'm fine with that, right? It's about the gun policy. It's not about the ownership of the gun. It's about what rights you have about owning a gun, the policy of getting it, right? So I don't think it affects me.
How do you like your answer? What do you think about your answer?
A little mixed. Again, they don't really go directly to the question, but I think I like her answer. I think she did well.
And then one of the questions they brought up was about clean energy, young voters, and climate change.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Well, how do you feel about that?
Based on what they said, I feel like it's strong. But again, neither candidate I feel like engaged me in a way for me to agree with them. I do agree that we should spend more time on clean energy and develop more technologies to beat climate change. And yeah, what was the other question again? Like the other part?
The other thing they brought up was healthcare. Keeping to have a concrete plan at this point. What do you make of that?
Well, about healthcare, again, I didn't really do much research about it, but I think that they have both great plans. It depends on, if it goes right, oh well.
He said that Obamacare is too expensive for people. Do you think he was making a good case on that? Not really having a plan so far for him, or what do you think?
Too expensive. I mean, again, I don't really know much information about it. I mean, I just got into politics, I would say, but I feel like if I learned more and understood more and focused and learned about it more, it would be beneficial.
Do you think the moderators are doing a good job tonight?
Sorry?
Do you think the moderators are doing a good job tonight?
I think so. With all this and all the interrupting, I feel like if I was a moderator, I couldn't handle it.
Just very last question. What else from everything I've said tonight? What stands out?
One that is focused on the future.
What stands out?
And the other that
Honestly, for me, is about the crowd, right? And because I'm not used to this, right? I come from a different perspective, right? And the reason I'm here is to learn different, broaden my experience with politics. And honestly, I feel like debates are generally still the same throughout all 3 debates in the past years. I feel like they're all the same. And yeah, they're just people trying to get their point across.
Final question. They're getting to final closing statements right now. Who do you think has performed so far?
I feel like question-wise, I feel like Harris was more direct with her answers and questions, while Trump was trying to bounce around the question and not really direct. But so I feel like Harris did a better job than Trump.
And
I believe
is this
in what we can do together.
do the answers
That
tonight,
is
the
about
performance tonight, change the way
sustaining
you see them,
America's
or
standing in the world and ensuring
Say the same.
that we have the
Again, they're both
deserve, including
politicians, right? I don't feel, again, they're not really direct. There's always obviously lies between both candidates, and I feel like they did not change my opinion at all.
our fundamental rights and freedoms,
And
including the
what
right
city
of
you
a
live
woman
in?
to make
I live in
decisions
Waxhaw,
about
North
her
Carolina.
own body and
No
not
problem.
have our
Thank you.
government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was the DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why? They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs. And all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it. And you want to do things that you believe in things like, we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just asked one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in a serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. We don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Linsey Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
And we are here live on ABC with our post-debate Afghanistan, they had it all, and it was historic. John Carl, fiery.
Wow, that was quite a debate. And I'm John Carl here with Barry Bruce and Ray Scott. Our reporters across the news division have updated our live blog, looking at some of the allegations made back and forth, doing fact checks, all about ABC. But I would like to replay a moment at the very start of this debate, because it was quite a moment. The handshake.
Thank you.
I mean, you hadn't seen it.
I'm gonna work.
What did he say? Is he getting it?
So there's, and I think Tim Scott's coming. Hey, go ahead. There's Vivek.
Look, I think if they debate again, which is fine, you're just going to hear Kamala Harris dodging more of the questions that she dodged all night long. Kamala Harris couldn't answer a simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? She couldn't answer a simple question about what their plan to stop inflation would be. She couldn't answer a simple question about what she would do to secure the border. Time and time again, Kamala Harris had no answer but dodges. So if they debate again, which they might, you'll simply hear these same dodges, or for that matter, you'll hear the lies that Kamala Harris is telling. She still believes in a fracking ban. She still believes in an electric vehicle mandate. She's not flip-flopped. She's not changed her position. She is simply lying to try to win an election. That's exactly what her surrogate, Bernie Sanders, said just this weekend. I think Trump did a great job of outlining what we all know is his record. Again, this is a very unusual presidential campaign. Both candidates have been in the White House. For the first time in 100 years, we have a candidate who has a record as president. And that record, with stable prices, higher wages, a secure border, and a peaceful, stable world. With Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, everything has gone to hell. Prices are at record highs, wages are stagnant, the border is wide open, illegal immigrants are flooding our country, and we have war breaking out all around the world.
On Fox News, Rick Hume, on Fox News, Rick Hume just said, let's face it.
You're live.
Trump had a bad night. Do you disagree?
Well, I haven't seen any of the other commentary. I think President Trump laid out a clear contrast between his record as president and Kamala Harris's failed record as the vice president. What Kamala Harris couldn't do, remember, time after time, she could not answer simple questions. Are people better off now than they were 4 years ago? No. Will you support any restrictions on abortion at all in months 7, 8, or even 9? No. Why? Because people aren't better off. Because she does have a radical position on abortion. Because they have no plan to address inflation. They have no plan to close and secure our border. On issue after issue, Kamala Harris either dodged the question or she told lies. And President Trump pointed it out.
Let's go.
Independent voters tonight after the debate?
I think any voters who are watching this tonight believe that.
You know him well. Was he rocking tonight?
Unfortunately, there wasn't enough focus on immigration, which is a terrible thing for this country right now. Our illegal immigration situation is a disaster, and Kamala Harris was the border czar. It was her one job with Joe Biden, and she has failed. She's epically failed. And unfortunately, she's not been able to explain to us why you've had so many people come out.
Was he rocking tonight? Do you think? Fox News, Chris Hughes said, let's face it, Trump had a bad night. Do you agree, disagree?
Well, look, I think it's what we expected. I think it was a bit of a 3-on-1 situation. Certainly, they backed up Kamala Harris from the moderator standpoint. But she went up there and did exactly what Joe Biden did in 2020. She said things to the American people we know are not true. She lied to the American people. She's not able to do the things that she said she's going to do because she hasn't even explained them.
You don't sound like you think Donald Trump had a good night.
I think he had a night that we expected to see, which is that Donald Trump was 4 years in the White House. We all remember how our lives were then. Kamala Harris has been there for 4 years, and I think the question really is, why hasn't she done any of the things that she says she wants to do? Why hasn't she brought down inflation? Why hasn't she closed the border?
But surely he wasn't trying to get to another.
She's been able to end the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Why did we see Israel?
Surely you want to come here and say that Donald Trump had a great night.
I think he had a fine night. I think that this was a night that was absolutely necessary, and I am so happy we finally got to see these two people on a stage. I wish we had 2 more debates. We usually have 3 presidential debates. Kamala Harris has said she only wants 1 so far. Donald Trump would certainly be willing to do another debate.
David Muir here, real quick. What's your message to ABC News about how they, the questions tonight?
Well, I think it was rather unfortunate that it felt like it was an attack session on Donald Trump. I think he had a lot of great points, a lot of great things to say. He had to hold Kamala Harris accountable because unfortunately didn't feel like they did a whole lot of that.
Senator Trump, how do you think
necessary for the American people to see? I do feel like it was a bit of a 3-on-1 debate. I feel like it was the moderators and Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. But he was able to remind the American people that Kamala Harris has been in the White House for 4 years alongside Joe Biden. And unfortunately for the American people in the world, she hasn't done any of the things she said she would be able to do. The idea that she would be able to accomplish anything with 4 more years in the White House is absolutely ludicrous. It would be a disaster for this country and a disaster for the world.
Is Donald Trump going to keep the Affordable Care Act?
What's that?
Is he going to keep the Affordable Care Act?
Well, I think we heard him tonight. He said if there was a better plan that was in place, he would be very willing to accept that.
He won't kill the Affordable Care Act until that comes
I don't believe you heard that from him tonight, that he's willing
we
to
did
do that.
not.
No.
What about the minimum wage?
What was that? Well, there have been a lot of issues in this country based on illegal immigration, and because of that, people are suffering. And one of the places they're suffering is in Ohio. Now, to what extent, I'm not totally sure, but that is a story that a lot of people have been talking about.
Laura, what about the minimum wage?
All right, good.
If we just had better leadership, we got the best workers, the most beautiful country, the best natural resources.
Well, I get it.
JD Vance.
I don't know. I can't. Hi. So what do you think? A lot of people are very happy with Vice President Harris' performance. Tell us what you think.
I thought she did exactly what she needed to do, which was show the American people that she has a plan to move forward. She reached out and talked to American people that she cared about them, and she clearly was the winner of this debate. Donald Trump just started spiraling downhill as soon as we got to the Roe v. Wade decision, and it just got worse and worse as the debate went on for him.
Senator, do you think this was enough to sway those alleged undecided voters?
Definitely. I thought that she did exactly what she needed to do. They care about what are we going to do for them. She has made it clear that she's going to be a president for the entire United States, for all of America, not just for somebody in the past. You know, Donald Trump was just focused on whether or not he'd won the last election. That's all the Americans want. They want to know who's going to support them, who's going to work for them. And she made that message very clear that she's got a plan and she's going to be present for all Americans. And she clearly won the debate tonight.
Do you think this is the last debate? Do you think there'll be more?
I hope that there's another one come October. I will encourage her to pursue another one. But if I were Donald Trump's team, I wouldn't have put him up on against her again.
Senator, do you think a lot of people know a lot more about the vice president now than they did before?
Oh, I think so. I think she was very clear, plan after plan that she put into place, whether it was a tax credit for entrepreneurs, whether it was a tax credit for people who want to buy their first home, whether it was about making sure that we expand health care for all Americans in terms of bringing down the cost of prescription drug medication. Donald Trump had no plan. It was clear he had no plan. His only plan was Project 2025, and even that he wasn't sure about. And so, I think that she made the case for the American people. I think they know more about her now, and they know that she's going to be a president for all Americans. Thank you.
Can I see your credentials? Thank you.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Why doesn't she strike? Wide open, and it's caused higher prices for American citizens. I want to hear about Kamala Harris's record of achievement. Unfortunately, it's so big and also bad. Talk about his platitudes, and I think the American people are smart enough to see right through it.
Senator, what's the biggest mistake that Vice President Harris made? And what issue did she make a mistake on? You're talking about her record.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Kamala Harris made a lot of mistakes tonight. But again, I go back to what I said earlier, which is that there was no real substance. You listen to Kamala Harris talk for 90 minutes, you would hear a person talking as if she weren't the sitting vice president of the United States of America. She is in office now and has been for 3.5 years. It's her policy that caused these problems. It is her policy that caused higher inflation. It's her policy that caused the wide open southern border. If Kamala Harris wants to fix these problems, she should do it right now with the job the American people gave her, not ask for a promotion so that she can fail even more.
Immigrants are eating their dogs, their cats. It was mentioned by Trump on national television. Do you truly believe those claims?
Well, we just actually heard a 911 call from a citizen in Springfield earlier today that some of the immigrants in Springfield were capturing geese at the local pond, slaughtering them and killing them. Well, I mean, look, I don't know what are the full spate of animals that are being consumed there in Springfield, but I know the geese are certainly among them. And we've heard reports from a number of constituents on the ground that they have had pets abducted by some of the immigrants there. We're, of course, looking into this stuff. But look, the fundamental issue here is whether they were eating geese or dogs. Is that really what we're going to hang our hat on? The problem is that this small town in Ohio has been flooded with 20,000 migrants thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Now, people can't afford basic goods, they can't afford food, they can't afford housing in their communities, and their public safety has been completely destroyed. It's a disgrace. And Donald Trump is right to call it out, and Kamala Harris, like so many other issues, she has no way to explain why she's going to be better as president than she has been as vice president. It's her policies that caused the problem. She should have to answer for that.
You're Catholic, and Trump has come out in support of IVF and making IVF free for all. And the Catholic Church teaches that IVF is immoral. And so I just wanted to know kind of where you stand on that, and if that's something that you support as well, or if that's more so just...
Look, I think, first of all, Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party because he received millions of votes, and Donald Trump has been explicit that he wants to promote a culture where life is welcomed into this community, into our country. He supports fertility treatments. He wants to make them more accessible. He's been crystal clear on that. Now, that said, I think that it's ridiculous that Democrats are saying that Donald Trump wants to take your fertility treatments away, when in reality, Democrat policies have made it harder to afford children, made it harder to afford home to put those, made it harder to afford the groceries with which to feed those children. Their policies have been a nightmare, and so they're trying to scare Americans with promises and threats that Donald Trump is going to take away their fertility treatment, when in reality they're saying that because they don't have any solutions to the problems of America.
Mr. Pence.
Well, I think he did a couple things really powerful tonight. One, he reminded Pennsylvanians that though Kamala Harris is running away from her record at every single step, she wants to ban fracking. Kamala Harris has been explicit about wanting to ban fracking, and she couldn't explain why she allegedly flip-flopped on a view that she held just a few years ago. If you ban fracking like Kamala Harris wants to do, it's going to immiserate and impoverish thousands of Pennsylvania citizens, and it's going to jack up energy prices, by the way, even higher than they've already gone up, because thanks to Kamala Harris' policies, we've got energy prices that are about 40% higher. They're going to go a lot higher if she puts a lot of Pennsylvania crackers out.
People not only in the United States but in Europe have been watching this debate.
Yeah.
They want to know what will happen in Ukraine, what will happen in Israel. Did they get a fair answer? What do you think?
Well, I think what they got from Kamala Harris again is more platitudes. What's her actual plan? She actually was bragging that Joe Biden sent her to Ukraine to stop the war from happening, and then Donald Trump very smartly pointed out, well, you were sent there to prevent the war from happening, and then it happened 3 days after you left town. Clearly, there's some weak leadership there and some incompetence there. I think the real difference. Excuse me, sir. Can I answer the question? What Donald Trump has said very explicitly is that smart leadership and smart diplomacy will create a world at peace. It did when he was president, and I think that's his plan again. Now, to be clear, Ukraine and Russia, the whole situation is a disaster. What you need is smart diplomacy to get Europe and America and Ukraine and Russia out of that conflict and back on a footing of peace. Donald Trump's already had successful diplomacy. He's going to do it again when the American people elect him president in a few months. Sir.
He did not tell us how he's going to stop the war in Gaza after 40,000 casualties. I mean, of course, Biden administration and Vice President Harris did a horrible job. What is going to make a difference?
Well, look, I think what President Trump has said very specifically is, one, you need to give Israelis the precision-guided weapons so that you don't have a lot of unnecessary civilian casualties. Kamala Harris says that she wants to cut down on civilian casualties, but her foreign policy has actually led to a lot of Palestinian civilians being killed. It's also prolonged the war. It's also strengthened Hamas. It's like a lose-lose-lose foreign policy, but again, that's the incompetence of Kamala Harris. Ma'am.
Spreading false claims about them put their lives at risk.
Well, I don't think that no one has spread false claims. What they've said is that a small migrant community, 20,000, so it's big for the city of Springfield, but it's small compared to all Haitians in the United States of America, that small migrant community has caused a lot of problems. It's led to higher rates of communicable diseases. That's a verifiable fact. It's led to animals disappearing. Many of my constituents have said that has been happening. It's led to higher home prices. That is a verifiable fact. So this influx has led to a lot of poverty in Springfield. No. Let me finish. Let me finish the question. Excuse me. City officials have said that's not true. That's not actually accurate. What they've said is that there's no
evidence that immigrants are eating animals, and you have been saying, and Donald Trump just said on stage that they are eating animals.
Would you like me to answer the question, or would you like to keep interrupting me? Can you answer Can you ask the question and then let me answer it? The city manager said there's no verifiable evidence. A lot of residents on the ground have said that there is. That just means the city manager, I think, isn't fully in touch with what's going on the ground there. I've heard from many of my own constituents who have seen these things with their own eyes, who have seen these abductions with their own eyes, who have seen geese being taken out of local parks and slaughtered in front of their eyes. What do I think is a bigger problem? Insulting 20,000 people, or the fact that my constituents can't live a good life because Kamala Harris opened the border? I think it's Kamala Harris needs to do her job and make people happier and healthier in this country. Last question, guys. Last question.
Has tonight won the election, sir?
Hey, guys, chill out, please. I'm gonna answer this question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So my question for you is, do you think Donald Trump did a better job in this debate than he did in previous debates? And do you think he's made a difference with undecided voters?
Well, his debate opponent, I will say one thing for her, she had a pulse unlike his opponent a few months ago, so I think that there was that big difference. But look, I think what we revealed here is that Kamala Harris is a candidate of platitudes. There's no substance. There's no ability for her to talk about how her record lowered grocery prices or housing prices, because her policy raised housing prices and raised grocery prices for Americans. So I think what we saw was Donald Trump. He was crisp, he was clear, he had a real vision for what to do to take this country forward. He also has a record that he's proud of. And the biggest difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is they both have records. Donald Trump's proud of his, Kamala Harris is ashamed of hers, and rightfully so.
Hi. Did you get him when I was like
Yeah,
when it was right in front of me?
Great. Yeah, but watch the mic. It's way too, I don't know where it was. It's way too close. He's loud.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try. I mean,
Okay.
almost always going to be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. You got a lot of stuff in that last one. Who else we got?
And that was. Let's check. To see who else there is. Thank you. Vivek? Right here.
You go anywhere, I'm going to slide in that hole.
Okay.
I think Donald Trump comes out no weaker, no stronger from this debate. I'd say the same from Kamala Harris, no weaker, no stronger. What people expected going in, I think unfortunately that's what they got coming out, because Kamala Harris was not pressed on a lot of those policies.
I'm sorry if I missed this already, but have you responded to Taylor's Harris just now?
Is that actual news?
Yeah, she just posted on Instagram.
Yeah, Kamala Harris.
I mean,
As a
look,
fellow millennial, do you have any response to that?
I think the reality is celebrity endorsements mean generally very little, and I do think that voters should think independently for themselves of who they want to vote for, and talented singers should remain talented singers rather than particularly weighing in heavily.
Are you disappointed?
Do you think that it's wise for the president to do a second debate?
I think that, look, I'm just going to speak as an American and not as a partisan here. I think more debate's good for the country. Now, what I would like to see in that next debate, though, is less moderator tilting of scales. So this isn't some sort of just usual cry about biased media. I'll draw a distinction between David Muir and Linsey Davis. I thought David Muir in particular did, I think, a poor job of exhibiting actually the same standards that he applied to Kamala Harris as he did Donald Trump at that debate. I think anybody who watched that, even many of you may not admit it, would agree that that was not an even-handed treatment of the two candidates. I think more debate's good, and I do think that it's going to be important for voters to have some chance to understand what Kamala Harris's policy positions actually are. We have no idea why she changed on her healthcare plan from before to where she stands right now. A ban on offshore drilling. They talked a lot about fracking as a deflection. Bans on offshore drilling versus where they are right now. And I think it's a disservice to voters. And so for that reason, I'm sorry, in my opinion, I think another debate would be actually productive.
Do you think
this is the reality, is they deflected from the fact that actually migrants, are they killing people in car accidents in this country? Absolutely. In Springfield, Ohio, where I've spent a lot of time growing up, not far from, you're talking about animals, I'm talking about people. And the reality is,
pets, which is what he said.
Was there actual Haitian immigrants who have been responsible for the deaths of, for example, an 11-year-old boy or other travesties? The reality is those are the issues that we didn't get to talk about because of, I think, some level of soft coordination that allowed for that debate to, I think, be a one-sided display that most voters are smart enough to see through. And I think more debates would be a positive.
Do you think that he moved into New York?
I think that Donald Trump actually more than held his own with independents, because he was able to do what many professional politicians don't. He answered authentically. There were many instances in which he raised questions.
You don't think he took the debate too much? Or took the bait too much? Some Republicans were texting me during the debate saying that he was taking the bait.
I think he came across as authentic. And Donald Trump, the thing I like about him is he came across, especially to independent voters, who don't want a politician reading off the script. I think Donald Trump actually channeled that authenticity in this debate in a really good way. I think the fact that he even exposed some of the fissures that most people, uncomfortable truths that they know to be true but don't talk about, is even between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I think so. He did some things that were a little unconventional, but I think that's what makes Donald Trump such a compelling figure to many independents across the country, is that he doesn't follow that standard script. So in that area, I think he did actually succeed.
I think we're good. I think we're good. Kevin,
Just a minute ago.
hey, let's see what's down there. Okay. Well, I think that was good.
Yeah, that's great. Who we got? We got Senator Murphy's not bad.
Oh, Newsom, Governor Newsom.
What do you see him?
Oh, yeah, maybe he's on a set. Okay. Yeah, agreed. Scare him. Who? Yeah. She said we need some Dems.
Used to say it because he wants Russia to win the war. So the whole world saw tonight Donald Trump rooting for Russia to win the war. Why? Because Donald Trump wants to align himself with dictators and autocrats around the world who will pad his pockets, right, instead of protecting American interests. So if I'm an ally of the United States or an ally of Ukraine tonight, I know exactly what the consequences of Donald Trump winning this election are. He will give away Ukraine, and he'll do it before he's even elected. That's what he told us tonight. He said, "I want Russia to win the war, and I will give Ukraine to Russia before I am even sworn in." Right? That is a stunning show of weakness by someone applying to be the most powerful person in the world.
What paper did he do Poland, sir? Do you think that Kamala Harris needs to do more spontaneous kinds of interactions with the public? Should she give more news conferences, do more town halls, do events that are less scripted than what we've seen so far?
Well, let's have another debate. I mean, that's the clear takeaway from tonight. Kamala Harris was nimble. She was good on her feet. She listened to Donald Trump's answers and responded to them in devastating ways. I think the clear takeaway from tonight is that we need another debate. We need to have Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on another stage, because every time that happens, the American people see a true contrast, just not only in the visions of the two candidates, but also in the demeanor of the two candidates. One of those candidates on stage, Kamala Harris, is ready to be president of the United States. The other candidate on that stage, Donald Trump, was a rambling, incoherent mess.
Trump campaign yesterday described.
Scaramucci is anti-Trump, but do we want to give up?
Then get in there.
They were entitled to fact checking. He tells one lie on average every 90 minutes. They had to fact check him, and they did. And so, of course, they're going to pile on and say he was unhinged and unspooled. What else would you expect them to say? They've got to say something, and that's what sore losers said. And Trump is a sore loser, by the way. I want to be on record with that. Let me take this question. Let me take this question.
President Trump says that if Harris is elected, Israel will not exist within 2 years.
It's an absolutely absurd statement, okay? And I am a self-professed Zionist. I am someone who has supported Israel. I'm someone who viewed the IDF film. I've actually showed it to colleagues of mine and executives on Wall Street. It's an absurd thing for him to say that. He actually knows that that's not true, and he doesn't believe that. And whether the Republicans like it or not, the Biden administration followed their actions. They put 2 aircraft carriers in the region. They supplied the Israeli government and its army, the IDF, with arms. They just did another $21 billion arms deal with the Israelis. The Israelis are our strongest ally in the region. She made it very clear tonight And she made it very clear in her speech at the Democratic Convention that there's no daylight between the United States and the Israelis. Okay. And I'm a friend of Israel. And I'm telling you right now, I would not be supporting Kamala Harris if she wasn't that strong on Israel. This administration has done more for Israel than any other administration I can think of. Okay. And that's my honest assessment. Just go over the armament. This gentleman here first. I'm sorry, he was here first. And I'll go. I'm going to get there, I promise.
Andrew, thank you.
Yeah.
The readers of the Times of London.
Let's go to Cooper. And there, you go over here.
With the bipartisan bill that had been put together, Donald Trump never explained why he destroyed it.
Governor, the Trump campaign said the other day that Kamala Harris has been bubble wrapped. She's been too protected on the campaign trail. She's not had enough spontaneous interactions with voters. They don't have a real sense of who she is. Should she do more press interviews? Should she do more town halls?
I think for an hour and a half, she was in front of the American people with difficult questions right across from Donald Trump. I think she showed her mettle. She showed she was very presidential. And I think anybody who watched that debate and who really is not all the way committed to Donald Trump would say she did an excellent job and showed that she could be a great president of the United States.
This has been a roller coaster of an election. A lot of highs and lows for Democrats. How would you describe the mood for Democrats after tonight?
I think Democrats are euphoric. Kamala Harris showed us the kind of person that she is. I think she showed the nation that she can be a strong president and that she can find us a new way forward. So I think we are very excited about that. The last few weeks, most of our volunteers have been first-time volunteers. So we know a lot of people who have not been engaged in the system are now engaged. And that's going to be a key to this election, I think, is to get disaffected people who have not been voting to the polls. I think they're going to vote for Kamala Harris.
More excited than 75 days ago?
Yeah.
What do you say to Americans who came into this and are still concerned about the economy and the inflation? How do you think that they're reacting tonight?
I think they saw a plan from Kamala Harris on addressing costs directly, costs at the grocery store, the child care tax credit for young parents, affordable housing. She wants to shift the tax burden here. We know what Donald Trump wants to do, more tax breaks for the very wealthy, more tax breaks for corporations. She wants those tax breaks to be with small businesses, with middle-class families. So people who are concerned about costs and the economy, she's the one with the plan. He doesn't have one except this Project 2025, and that's going to be a disaster.
Thank you, Governor. Let's check on Gavin.
We called a couple times, right?
Remember that guy? He
the
Gold Star. Yeah, you want to do that?
Can't ask him about Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Okay. I'll ask him about the debate.
General Kelly, whose son is buried in Section 60, Lieutenant Kelly, young Lieutenant Kelly, close to my son's grave. He says, what is in it for them? As if sacrifice and service means nothing to Donald Trump. In 2018, in France, commemorating the end of the First World War, he says, and this was publicly available on the media, that to me these are losers and suckers, meaning he has no respect for our military, no respect for the people who are serving, the people who are standing for our democracy, for our freedoms. So for those reasons, I will defend, I will stand with Kamala Harris. I will campaign for Kamala Harris because there is no comparison.
Sure, just could you give us a general overview? What did you think of the debate? How did this go? Are you the middle? I apologize.
We'll continue.
Yeah, could you just give us a general
Sure.
sense? What was your breakdown of the debate? You've been in this political sphere. Tell us.
Well, Kamala Harris was presidential. She was detailed. She had a plan that she wishes to implement, bring with her, and make this campaign for the future of the United States. Whereas Trump was defensive, disrespectful, vulgar in his comments about our current president, about Kamala Harris. Trump wants to take us back. Kamala Harris wants to take us forward. Kamala Harris is champion of democracy, champion of rule of law, and champion of families and women's right to equal dignity. So it is for that reason I feel, and many of us have felt, that Kamala Harris carried the day, and she is our future president.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And sorry to meet you. Thank you very much. Kind of, yeah. Kind of, yeah. Robert Kennedy, right? There you go.
Good night, brother.
Hey, I gotta ask you. Governor, did the debate move the needle at all tonight?
Well, it will be determined. I think we can overanalyze in the moment. I've learned enough, a little bit of, humility and grace as it relates to how these things are spun in the moment. But I don't think any truly, and I know we're in the spin room and I recognize my own subjectivity, but any objective person watched that debate tonight, from the handshake and the fact she came over and she commanded the room and she put Donald Trump on the defense throughout the entire night. I can't imagine it won't move the needle on those polls.
Is there a need for another debate?
Well, that's a question, Donald Trump. I'd love to see another debate. I hope to see another debate. If you're Donald Trump, you're running away from this debate. You're doing the grievance stuff. You're talking about how everything was somehow rigged against you. It's a pity party. It's always about Trump. She kept looking in the camera, talking about the American people. She talked about you. She talked about the issues you care most about. She talked about affordability and housing. She talked about her plans to bring down the cost of raising a family and child care. All he talked about were his size of his crowds. He talked about dogs and eating. It was typical Trump derangement. And I'll tell you, it's becoming less and less interesting and more boring. I'll tell you, the Trump folks are going to have to reset in a pretty profound and consequential way if they're going to maintain any hope of pulling this thing out. This was a big night for the American people, for freedom, for democracy, for the rule of law, for justice, not just Kamala Harris.
What about Taylor Swift's endorsement? What about Taylor
And then there was Taylor Swift's endorsement. And you know what? That matters. It matters. And you know what? I have, forgive me, some advice to Donald Trump. Don't disparage that endorsement at your own peril.
Are you a fan of his?
At your own peril. At my own peril, I will say nothing but, are you kidding? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Look, she is a cultural icon. Something big has happened in the world in terms of the energy and vibrancy she's associated with, the optimism she's associated with. That was a big deal as well. But even without that, this was an extraordinary night for the campaign and for the American people. Thanks. Okay, we're good. Yeah.
The guy had an iPhone in his face. I got all of it in, but
Okay.
I wouldn't mind getting
Well,
something.
Okay, I'll go back.
He agreed to and established before the debate. If that's the best you guys are going to do, it's going to be a tough night, week, and month. And you'll see that reflected in the grievance expressed by Trump. He can't. This night was a bad night. He knows it. He was so easily manipulated because he is so easy to manipulate. And he was one of the weakest performances I've seen of any presidential candidate in my lifetime.
Governor
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get this stuff? Yeah. Okay. Who's that? Where?
What about the moderators?
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
I assume the moderators would then use that right there as
Mr. President. President Trump, come to this side.
President Trump, remember the Central Park Five.
What about black voters? What about black voters? Do you think black voters vote? Black men, Mr. President, what are the numbers for black men? Do you think you're going to lose? Do you think you're going to lose the Asian vote?